So far in our journey, we've really explored the cycles of time, the wisdom of tshuva, returning to ourselves, the feminine art of becoming. And now we're going to arrive at something that is potentially overlooked. And I think that's because for many years, the Jewish people have survived through the book and through our minds and through mitzvot and through the intellect. And we now see, as we're moving from this time from the masculine to the feminine, from mind to heart, that there's a deeper calling and a deeper yearning that Am Yisrael and the whole world is seeking. And I think a big part of that is learning Pnimiut Torah, which is the inner secrets and the inner wisdom of the Torah, of Kabbalah and Chassidut. And this is what this entire platform is really about, to teach us the deeper secrets and quench our spiritual thirst. But I think that one thing that is very overlooked is the wisdom of the body and the spiritual potential that sits within the body itself. As we spoke about before, every soul enters the world with its own purpose and with its own particular tikkun, which means rectification. Basically, what its contribution will be to creation and what it has to fix within itself, each person. Yet the culture around us is so obsessed with setting goals, with hustling, with manifesting, with trying to, and it's a very masculine approach that basically assumes that the answers lie outside of us. We can hold and grab onto these things that we desire, but rarely Jewish wisdom comes and says the complete opposite, especially if we look at it through the feminine lens and internal lens. It teaches something different. It says that life really isn't about manifesting something that's outside of you. Life is about becoming. And one of the most profound ways that we can return to our essence, that we can embody this art of becoming, is through the body. And as I mentioned, that in Jewish tradition, we sometimes lean a little bit too heavily on the intellect, on learning, on analyzing, on understanding, which are all sacred and amazing things. But the feminine path basically says that the body is not a distraction from holiness. It is a vessel for holiness. And the Shekhinah, the divine feminine presence, doesn't hover above us. She actually rests within us, not just within a woman's womb, within our entire bodies, men and alike. And our bodies are really the resting place of our souls. They are living temples. And I believe, and I have experienced being able to tap deeper into my heart and deeper into my soul through the wisdom of the body and through embodiment. So often we have a big distance between and dissonance between our heads and our heart. And the mind is normally seen as the more masculine, logical, linear energy that it represents. And the heart is the more feminine, intuitive, cyclical, respective. And both Jewish mysticism and science affirm that the frequency of the heart is stronger than the frequency of the mind. So you can set so many goals and you can plan millions of things, but if in your heart you feel unworthy, and if your nervous system just isn't ready to receive the next stage of what you're trying to call in, your heart will always override your mind. That means that the real work is inner work. The work of becoming is inner work. It's about clearing limiting beliefs. It's about softening our body. It's about regulating our nervous system. And it's really reconnecting with our soul's original life. So I definitely think that the spiritual work isn't just mind over matter. It's really body as a vessel. And when our nervous system is tight, when we're anxious, when we're shut down, our vessel becomes small and the light of the soul cannot flow through it. But when our body is softened and we are open and grounded, our vessel expands and then the soul has more room to shine. And what's beautiful is that we're living in a time where embodiment practices and new methods of psychotherapy and dance and breath work and meditation and all of these more embodied practices are coming to the foreground. And what I think is really cool is that I see it as both diverging when Am Yisrael returned to its land. So as Am Yisrael returns to the land, as Am Yisrael becomes more embodied on a historical cosmic level, so too is there awakening just in general with individual people to return back to our bodies. And I think that it's no surprise that both of these awakenings and renewals are happening at the same time. And I think that there's also almost two kinds of spirituality. There's a spirituality that seeks transcendence and to rise above the body and to escape the physical. This can also maybe be more of an Eastern kind of spirituality, which I would like to call a masculine spirituality, whereas a feminine spirituality seeks more immanent. It wants to descend into the body. It wants to embrace the body as holy. It wants to find God here in the physical. It wants to merge East and West. It wants to merge the spiritual and the physical. And that is really the feminine, immanent kind of spirituality that Judaism comes to teach. Because we aren't here to find God somewhere else. We're here to find God right here and right here. And I think that's also a big part of Jewish practice, is so physical, and it is so in this world, and it is all about uplifting the physical through the spiritual. And all of our mitzvot, from challah to lighting candles to going to the mikveh, every single mitzvah is really there to remind us that the body is part of the revelation. And our body can also teach us one of the most important things, which is presence, because to live in the body is to live in presence, and it's not being lost in the future. Through our breath, our neshima, we can connect to our neshama. When we say in the Torah, B'kol drachecha da'ehu, know God in all your ways, it also means through all of our senses and through our deepest presence. And if we bring all of this together, it's really beautiful, because our sages teach that in the times of the Mashiach, the body will no longer conceal the soul. The physical and the spiritual will be perfectly aligned. And really, every act of embodiment that we do now, if it's from honoring our cycles or treating our bodies as these beautiful vessels and kadash me'at, practicing presence, this is a rehearsal for that time. There's the 5 a.m. club and all these things. And I'm like, Judaism invented the 5 a.m. club. Have you heard of Nates? And Judaism is all about clean eating and sleeping enough and spirituality, and all of these things that are very trendy today are actually in the crux of our way of being for thousands of years. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov teaches that tshuva isn't just a one-time act. It's a spiral. We return again and again, and each time we return deeper. And just in the same way that tshuva is a personal spiral, Geula, redemption, is a cosmic spiral. And as we've seen, and I'll repeat, the week spirals into Shabbat, the year spirals into Tishrei, the month cycle spirals into Rosh Chodesh, and history itself spirals into the 7th millennium, the great Shabbat, the times of Mashiach, and the end or beginning of creation. And as we now are in this final stretch of the 6th millennium, we're really on the cusp of redemption. And as we peel away all the layers that dim our light on a personal level, humanity is also peeling away all the layers of exile until the world itself is going to shine in its fullest. So my invitation for this module is really tapping deeper into this feminine art of embodiment, of not chasing, not trying to manifest, but to returning layer by layer into the light that is already us. And just as the 7th day brings Shabbat and the 7th millennium brings Mashiach, so too each act of our return, each moment of embodiment, of prayer, of breath, brings us closer to the great Shabbat of history.